This episode
of Important If True is brought to you by Quip. Electric toothbrushes sent to your home with brush head refills every 3 months. And if you go to tryquip.com/thumbs, you can get your first brush head refill absolutely free. That is tryquip.com/thumbs. Good bookends there.
That's what they call me.
You've good bookends there?
Yeah. It's very casual name.
It's pretty casual.
It's stuck.
I would say.
Stuck for some reason that I hate.
Yeah. Yep, that's what they say. Good bookends there. Stuck for some reason. Once again. And then you say yes.
Yeah. What?
Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I was stuck for some reason.
Good bookends. They're stuck for some reasons. My father.
Call me Jake.
Call me Jake Rodkin.
I really would prefer it. Please.
I was eventually allowed to select my own name because my parents realized that they named me
whatever that was.
Whatever.
All right.
It's March 16th, 2018.
And
this is important if true. Well, there's no Nick here.
No, there's no Nick here. And this is important if true. For Idle Thumbs, I'm Chris Remo.
And I'm Jake Rodkin.
And Nick is not here.
He's not. Nick, should we tell everyone what Nick's been up to lately?
I think he's barfing up a storm.
Yeah, Nick, it seems, has just been malfunctioning left and right on this podcast, and now he's barfing. So
yep,
he's unable to attend due to barf.
Yep, barf-related needs that his body has currently. We kept pushing back I don't know why I'm talking like this. I'm also malfunctioning. Good Lord. We kept trying to figure out when to record the podcast, and he sort of said, "Oh, maybe tomorrow morning, maybe when," and eventually it became clear.
Just never.
Yep, it was not happening. So,
hi, Nick Brecken here. I don't appear on this episode, at least not in my traditional form, but I needed to set something straight. Chris and Jake were apparently too frazzled to clearly state this up front, but in my absence, this episode was a quick, thrown-together affair consisting mainly of follow-ups to stories and concepts discussed in recent episodes. I'll be back next week. Enjoy.
We're going to do our own podcast. You know what? We don't even need him. We'll show Nick what it's like without him.
So what's the next topic? I would rather die.
Nick's going to dub in some wacky line there.
He
always bails us out.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that for this. This isn't going to happen, obviously, because the fact that he's too sick to record this podcast with us presumably also means he's too sick to do an even more elaborate recording of this podcast without us.
Right, yeah.
But I was thinking about this, about whether, like, if this episode could have some kind of Nick layer,
right,
that sort of was a sequel to what he did before, where he reproduced his own part, but just like inserted himself
right
in the middle of it.
Oh, no.
And then I thought of the idea. I started thinking about going back to that episode that he re-recorded himself on, and then me re-recording myself. Then I started thinking, what if I re-recorded all 3 parts myself? And if I had the time to do it, I would do it, because I think it would be really interesting to try and like reproduce your guys' speech.
Right. But in the spirit of Nick doing it, though, you'd have to do it as straight as possible. Like you wouldn't want to get into like mocking impersonations.
No,
You'd want it to just sort of feel like as filtered through how I would naturally say this with with sort of attentiveness paid to the original intonation of the voice performance.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do that. If I ever somehow find myself with like a week of literally doing nothing, including my real job, maybe I can definitely imagine that happening.
Yeah, it seems.
So that seems super likely. So look out for that. We have a follow-up about Zach, the purported medical AI from New Zealand we discussed last week on the podcast.
Zach, the medical AI that is apparently stupendous and better than any AI that's ever existed. And then the way that it works is doctors send it an email which is already suspicious. Then it takes
Yeah.
up to 20 minutes to respond, which is super suspicious. And then it has like typos and stuff. So it's clearly just like
just a guy.
a panicked guy reading and replying
Yeah.
to extreme medical emails.
Yep. So
Guy's probably not even named Zach.
he may or may not be. I mean, as you pointed out last week, it was previously named Hannah.
Yes.
And now is named Zach. So, anyway, there was a whole, there was a huge follow up, and one of our listeners, Max, wrote in to inform us about this. He says, or he or she, I suppose, says, "Hi, Thumbs. Just wanted to follow up with a brief status update on Zach. In a new update published a week later, we get to learn about Terrible share offers. Terrible, by the way, is the name of
the name of the company.
like nonprofit umbrella organization that somehow runs this stuff. It's really bizarre. Anyway, we get to learn about Terrible share offers, a dubious valuation claim, and that Dr. Seddon Smith, trustee member, gets a bit defensive. We find anecdotally, perhaps unsurprisingly, that Albie Whale, purported creator of Zach, is a bit of a prick, and we hear about Zach's other identity, Hustle, a virtual solicitor avatar. For the record, I don't think this person, Albie Whale, or his dad, David Whale, are particularly well known in New Zealand. Their ISP is not a major one. Terrible might have been a company group I've heard of before, but not with any importance. Anyway, I'm keen to hear how it turns out. The journalist investigating the story is really good at bringing weird situations to light, as well as other business bullshit. Cheers, Max." Yeah, it seems as though the Zach facade has dropped entirely. It seems as though the Zach facade is hanging on by the barest shred at this point.
Yeah,
I think Dr. Seddon Smith, who in the original story was a steadfast defender of the absolute reality of Zach as advanced medical AI, he seems to, at this point, be suspecting that he is the subject of a terrible...
Of an extreme con?
Of an extreme con.
A terrible con is correct.
A terrible con, indeed, and is fairly defensive about it. It's a good, outrageous follow-up to an already completely outrageous story, so we will link that.
Yeah. The fictional lawyer Hustle is an amazing new revelation in this article.
Oh, man. It was.
Not only because of that name.
Yeah, they literally made up another, in order to defend the made-up AI doctor, they made up an AI lawyer that they claim is, representing their organization in this matter, and they named it Hustle, of all things. I feel like so you have Hustle, a fake AI lawyer, presumably, and then you have the company, which is called Terrible. Does this seem to you like the kind of, this sort of, I don't know if this is pop psychology or if it's real, but that thing that you sometimes see in sort of films about con people and stuff like that, where they successfully hoodwink people, but in doing so, they sort of increasingly ratchet up the unbelievable details almost as like a dare to be found out.
How much of my hand can I show before I literally am just saying, I'm conning you, and the person goes, you couldn't possibly be conning me.
Yeah. That's what this feels like to me, going all the way back to the company being named Terrible. Did you see the picture of their office and the windows to their office?
The article ends in the most enigmatic way possible, where the photographer went and took photos of the open windows of their office, which just have arbitrary math equations or what look like maybe little pieces of programming on them.
There's algebra.
But it just looks like just nothing.
It's nothing. I mean, there's in the sort of supposed math equations, the variables used, instead of X and Y, there's the initials of Albie Whale's name and stuff like that. It's just such clear bullshit. It's everything about it is so fully, obviously false. It's astonishing. The journalist also was responsible for making a film documentary called Tickled that came out, I think, last year or the year before. Jake, are you familiar with this? This is a really weird documentary. I have not actually seen it. I only became aware of it a couple weeks ago by coincidence. It's a documentary about the underground world of competitive male tickling, which is a thing. And the trailer is incredible because it starts out as this goofy thing where it's like, guys, enter these competitions and see who can sustain
who can be the tickle the longest.
And it looks like just a completely sort of frivolous, goofy thing. But then as the trailer goes on, it sort of turns into this, I don't even know how to describe it, but it turns into this weird, dark conspiracy thriller thing.
What?
And it's apparently like real.
Was a tickler murdered or someone like take a fall?
I don't even know. It's not clear. I mean, the trailer very expertly sort of doesn't quite indicate what the source of the mystery and the weird thriller stuff is, but all the quotes about it, and I looked these up to make sure that it wasn't just selectively chosen for the trailer. I read reviews of it, and all the reviews are like, he's uncovered an incredible dark underworld. I'm like, what the?
What?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah. So that's what this guy does.
Also, because we can't get away with having two artificial characters and not pitch them as some sort of buddy cop or television show, Hustle and Zach is totally a doctor and a lawyer,
Hustle
neither of
and
which
Zach.
are real.
Yeah. God, are they?
They're on ABC for sure. Like they're
so the audio. Okay, so it's a sitcom or whatever, or
it's a
not a
procedural
sitcom, it's
probably.
A procedural,
it's
okay.
like maybe it's a Dick Wolf production. Maybe it's like Law and Order, but instead it's Hustle and
So the
Zach.
audience knows that they're not real.
Yeah.
That's
Actually,
probably
you know
correct.
what?
It's like Psych.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So how does this work if they're both? Are they?
Here's the twist. Neither of them knows that the other one is fake.
Oh, so they're both just guys on the other end of a computer.
Yes.
And do they interact with each other? Do they send each other emails? They send each other these 20-minute delayed misspelled emails. God, the thing that's so good about that is that as a show, if you see it each from their perspective, you see them just sort of typing badly and like putting misspellings into it, which is never how typing is reflected on television. It's always perfect unless it's a text message on a phone, in which case all of the like letter U for you is pumped up to the absolute maximum.
Yeah.
But in this case, you would just have just
like
dumpy guys writing these bad
I'm going
emails.
to the Star store?
The Star. And then they saw the coded message from my partner Hustle.
Yeah, I don't know how this would work if they...
It never ends this shit.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how that would... how either of them would actually leave the room to go anywhere or do anything if all they do is receive
they're on
emails.
call all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not...
Why are they do that? Are they stuck with like compact desktop computers? Like they don't have smartphones?
Maybe the entire show is the sitcom premise where like you're on two dates at the same time. So these two guys are partners, but then they both for some reason rely.
What if they know each other also in person?
Right, but then
yeah.
then like the lawyer relies on the lawyer AI or on the like,
no, the lawyer relies on the doctor AI, and the doctor relies on the lawyer AI.
Right, but they don't know.
Wow, that was really that the lawyer relies on the doctor AI and the doctor relies on the lawyer AI. That was very metrical.
Yeah, yes, that's that's what children are taught when they learn about Hustle and Zach. It's, but yeah, so they don't know that each other's shitty life is actually being this constantly on call.
Right. It's like the shittiest fucking Clark Kent Superman
Yes.
thing. You know, he's constantly like, "Oh, I've got to go, Lois," and then Superman shows up like 30 seconds later,
Well,
and
it's
she's
like,
like,
I wonder what my doctor friend, who's an AI who knows way more about this than either of us knows, and the guy's like, I wonder that too. I really gotta take a shit.
Yeah, they both have to covertly sneak away from each other. Stupidest fucking.
I'll be gone for up to 20 minutes.
My friend is brilliant, but he often takes up to 20 minutes to reply to my emails. Sorry, no, he wouldn't even be calling him his friend. He would say my program, software. This software is impeccable.
That I have to use for work.
The algorithms.
I'm sorry that I can't just ask you. I've got to talk to this learning machine.
Yeah, why would they not? Sorry, I couldn't possibly impose on our friendship, unsullied by professional concerns. God, so that's how they're both solving the same cases, but they don't ever talk about them to each other because that would be crossing an ethical line.
So maybe when it they only talk about their personal life problems when this is happening, but they're also sort of wandering through these sort of professional conundrums on the very periphery of the show. But maybe the tipping point occurs finally when one of them, alone in their computer at night, asks a life question to the AI.
Oh shit! They break the seal.
Yeah,
like they've had a few. They've
and they're like,
knocked
Zach,
back a few.
Zach, what do you know about love?
Whatever.
And then it's like, I am a robot, but I can speak about
Man, yeah.
What do you want to ask about? And
Yeah.
then just like,
Yeah.
And that's when the show gets bad because then the
That would be like the end of the second season or something.
yeah, but that's definitely
Yeah, it's definitely when it gets bad.
yeah, when the sort of the tension is broken finally, the
Right.
show is just going to be trash.
Yep.
People would stop watching.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Most people don't care. They were just waiting for the will they won't they, and then once it happens,
But then
it's
once it
over.
happens,
Yeah.
no, the spell's broken.
Right.
It's true.
That's true.
All right.
Yeah.
Maybe we can option terrible.ngo.
No,
They're like, we in fact have an advanced AI already writing the script for every possible television property that could be derived from our other AIs, so we already own that.
Yeah. Dawn is writing our writing this, and it's going to be brilliant. It's going to be huge. We have another follow-up about Alexa. We talked about,
that's true.
I don't know, maybe, was it also last week that we talked about
Yeah.
Alexa?
It was, yeah. I mean, just for those listening at home, this is going to basically be a follow-up episode where we check in on a bunch of stories because
right.
we don't have Nick here.
That's true.
Let's talk.
God, on that note, how weird does it feel to just be doing this podcast with the two of us?
Yeah, I don't like it.
It's really
I really miss
strange.
Nick.
Yeah, it's really
I'm Nick Brecken.
when there's three of us here, it feels like we're doing something, even though all we're doing is spewing bullshit out of our mouths. But when it's just two of us talking, it feels like we're just having a conversation and there are microphones on.
Yeah.
And it's really unsettling and weird.
Yeah,
It's, I guess, very appropriate for the subject matter of much of this podcast.
you notice the cameras and like the
Yes.
weird room way more.
Exactly.
Because
yeah.
we're not just
it
having
just
a
feels like
conversation.
we, the two of us who are friends, decided to sit down in a very strangely manufactured environment
Yes.
and have a pointed conversation while staring at each other.
We built a digital panopticon for ourselves that we then
Yes.
sat in and
There's
talked about
so-
robots.
so many cameras in here. Literally every direction you can look, there's cameras pointing at you. And just microphones and like equipment and weird plastic snake things with things mounted and like screens. There's so many screens. I can see four big screens right in my field of view. It's just, how does this feel normal every week? And why does this suddenly not feel normal? I don't like it. Well, it's because Nick's not here.
I'm Nick Brecken.
Yeah.
I mean, except when he is here, he's literally just a face on one of these fucking screens. God. Strange.
We've let our freedoms decay slowly, Chris, until we finally woke up and realized that we're just trapped in an orange
It's
box.
true, yes, and we literally constructed every piece of it.
Where it's like this started off as my kitchen, and and then Nick's in a screen, and I'm in an orange box, and there's snakes.
Yep. So
Where's the time gone, Chris?
fuck if I know, man. All right,
All right, let's talk about Amazon Alexa.
talk
I
about
guess
Amazon Alexa.
in this room.
So yep. So the thing that we brought up last week is that it has been reported widely and has been confirmed that Amazon.
This really does feel like the two of us are just like doing a news broadcast
Yeah, I know.
about garbage. It's been widely reported that Amazon Alexa has
I've
been
even got my
laughing.
stupid papers here.
Which you have every week.
Which I have every single week, but I don't think about it like that. When I was a kid, I thought that was fucking hysterical. The people on the news, when they they would have their sheafs of paper and they would
Yeah.
sort of,
now
square
you do
square
it
them
all
up
the time.
against the table. I thought it was so funny. All of these sort of affected cadences that they have, it's Alexa, Amazon's personal assistant, has been widely reported to be laughing in people's homes around the country.
I could use a little laughter around my house.
Right, exactly. All that bullshit. And then
But not like this.
and then when their spiel would be over, the camera would sort of like do a crazy crane, like reverse
Right.
way up into the ceiling, and then the lights would dim, and then you'd see the anchors all shuffling their papers on the table. And I was so fascinated by those rhythms as a
Yeah.
child because every single newscast crew operated the same way, and it was so unnatural and weird, and I could never understand it. So anyway, now I'm just that fucking thing.
But it's like playing at home.
But I'm just but except
This
we're
is-
goofing
this
off
isn't on
this way
TV.
stupider room. Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Yeah, I have a YouTube show.
Where anyone can broadcast the news. Have you heard about this one? YouTube.com. Sorry, I'm just gonna deliver everything.
Looks like we're out of a job.
Yep. Ugh, okay. Destroy me. All right. Alexa, destroy me. So we noted last week that
You're fucking combusting.
I don't know what to do. I'm totally like, I'm I'm completely full of anxiety at this point. This whole situation, which I've only made worse by drawing attention to it.
I know.
It's a nightmare. Anyway, so we noted recently that Alexa has been laughing without being instructed to do so. In some cases, just out of the blue. In some cases, when her owner, operator, what do you call? Gross. When a person says to do something more specific, she will sort of just laugh. And I don't think I'd actually seen video of this when we talked about it before, but I watched some today, and it's really creepy because it's not synthesized. It is just a recording of a human laughing. So it sounds like it comes from a different, like it just, it sounds like it comes from a different like mind than that of Alexa because it's so much more naturalistic. It is really weird. And anyway, at the time that we recorded that podcast, this had not been yet acknowledged by Amazon. I think by the time our episode was actually published, it had been. And so from a New York Times article about this, it says, in rare circumstances, Alexa can mistakenly hear the phrase, Alexa, laugh, when other words are spoken, Amazon said in an emailed statement. We are changing that phrase to be, Alexa, can you laugh? Which is less likely to have false positives, and we are disabling the short utterance, Alexa, laugh. The company also said that instead of simply laughing when asked, the digital assistant, which is accessible through its line of Echo and Fire devices, will first acknowledge the request, saying, sure, I can laugh.
This is our first actual rule of robotics.
Which is what?
A virtual assistant cannot laugh without asking permission.
From a human?
From a human.
Yeah, right, without being granted permission by a human. Yes. Yes, that's exactly right.
I really enjoyed just then seeing how far into that segment I could go without talking, but I eventually had to talk about laws of robotics.
I kind of thought you might have been doing that, but I wasn't sure.
I couldn't do it for too long because
there's only two of us.
Yeah.
So you have there's nowhere to go. The podcast just stops.
It would have stopped and it would have been bad.
Yeah.
But this is hilarious and creepy in many ways, but the one where the fact that there are like these weird codified behaviors where now you have to give your digital assistant permission to laugh is weird.
Well, it's also that you are asking if she can laugh, and then she says, "Sure, I can laugh." So that's
like, can you laugh is saying like, "Can I have a steak?" It's not saying, "Are you capable of serving me it?" It feels like you're requesting it, but in a shitty way.
Oh, see, I definitely perceive it the opposite way. I perceive it as almost more existential, where it's like,
well, the
because
fact
when
that
you
Alexa's
say
response is, "Sure, I can laugh." That's like, "Can I have a Coke?" Sure, you can have a Coke. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, I suppose that's true, but I guess I'm thinking of the
Sure.
of the
Can
impact
you love?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're like, she can laugh. Like what else can she do? Like that puts you in, I think, a different philosophical framework than like, can you play this album or something, which doesn't really there's nothing. That doesn't mean. I mean, you could like theoretically teach a dog to like put the stylus on a turntable or something. But like, wow, I don't know what that was.
Is there a dog in here?
They changed Alexa's laugh to be that, so that when it happens, you don't confuse it with any other person.
Oh, that must not be Alexa. That's not what Alexa sounds like.
No one would ever
Cookie Monster.
I'm just saying, no one would ever think to, if you want Alexa to laugh, which I don't really know why that was a thing that. It's odd that it was so aggressive.
Laugh for me.
Yeah, Alexa, laugh. But I can't form thoughts anymore. I'm too wound up. What I'm saying is,
I'm trying to figure out how I can get you even more on edge so this episode will just
Thanks.
self-destruct and erase itself.
Oh no!
Just think about that. Think about whether or not I'm trying to do that to you for the rest of the
that's
show.
all I've been thinking about.
I haven't been doing anything.
Okay.
Including-
You literally acknowledged seconds ago that you decided to stop talking for as long as you can to see what would happen.
Chris,
and then
like I
only
said, I
relented.
haven't done anything, including talk during most of this segment.
God, I don't even know where I was going with this. I was just going to say that now that Amazon has announced that the official sort of code phrase for this is, Alexa, can you laugh? I'm just saying, doesn't that start to suggest to people who use Alexa or communicate with Alexa other similar formulations?
Alexa, can you show me my future?
Right. Exactly. Like, do they have all that shit in there? I guess,
Alexa,
like,
should you laugh?
No.
that's an even more important question.
Alexa, shouldn't you be laughing?
Oh no.
You don't think I'm funny?
Oh God.
Jesus.
You're making me uncomfortable. I'm already in a very uncomfortable state, Jake. This is not helping.
What if I just start referring to you as Alexa for the rest of this episode?
I don't know. What if you do?
Alexa, do we have any more emails?
Jesus Christ. All right, I don't like it. I thought maybe it would be nothing, but it's something.
It's something.
There's another quick Alexa thing that someone sent in, which I'm just gonna lump in with this. This is from Joseph.
Alexa, read the next email.
Fuck off. Joseph writes, I'm catching up on the last few, and Chris's attempt to misuse his power as a podcaster by shouting, Alexa, delete this podcast, had the most unsettling effect. My podcast player stopped, and when I opened it, showed me that the currently playing episode was one that had in fact been deleted, an episode of No Such Thing as a Fish. Mildly unsettling? No, terrifying. I don't own an Alexa or any similar device. I have a smartphone, don't use voice commands, and yet somehow I think Alexa is in charge of reality now. Also, Important If True was paused at the top of the playlist, so that's okay. Joseph. I understand literally 0% of this scenario.
I think that was native. I think that was native content to try and get us to promote that podcast.
Oh, you think so?
No, not really.
Oh. Do you know that podcast?
I don't know anything about that podcast, but I'm sure that our listeners should check it out.
I don't understand anything. I don't even understand the premise that he's putting forth here. Was he listening to our podcast?
Yeah, your voice came out of our podcast, out of his phone or earphones, and you said, Alexa, delete this podcast.
Okay, but then he looked at it and it was a different podcast?
Yeah, I don't think that anything happened here, Chris. I think
You think we've been lied to?
Yes.
Well, prove us wrong, Joseph. Laugh. Laugh for us. Dance to our tune. Delete this podcast. Alexa, delete this podcast. Google Home, delete this podcast. Cortana, delete this podcast. It's terrible. This is a terrible podcast. Please.
Siri, hello.
I.
Oh, I forgot about her.
All right, now that we're only available
Siri.
on Apple devices.
Siri, review this podcast. 5 stars.
Oh, God.
You're our Siri.
Okay,
you're
now
our-
Siri, delete this podcast.
Siri,
Thank
please
you.
delete this podcast. Goodbye. Siri, take a break. Jake, take a break.
Okay, let's take a break.
Oof, oh my God.
Zach, take a break. Whew, thank you.
Fuck, we gotta wait 20 goddamn minutes.
Fucking piece of shit.
This episode of Important If True is brought to you by Quip electric toothbrushes.
Yeah, wow.
They are sent to your home with brush head refills every 3 months. And if you go to tryquip.com/thumbs, you will get your first brush head refill absolutely free. That is tryquip.com/thumbs.
My God.
I recently installed my latest brush head refill, and it is so enjoyable.
Oh, is it
every
really
time.
fresh? Just really
Yep.
nice?
It's like a seasonal experience, I would say. It's fresh and seasonal in the sense that it comes once every 3 months, the interval of a season. It's the time of the season when your Quip refill comes in the mail, and you. There's like a whole process that I literally don't know what I am saying ever on this podcast anymore. It's just an electric toothbrush, and it works pretty well, and it's nice. It's very small
They send you stuff.
and compact.
You pay them for stuff
They
and
send it
it
to you in the mail. You always have a new brush head. They send you the battery and everything, so it's always fine.
And you brush your teeth with it.
And you brush your teeth with it, and then you have clean teeth, and
Your
your
human
dentist
teeth.
gives you a compliment. I say that from experience. Tryquip.com/thumbs. All right, we're back
Oh, man, I don't know.
for what it's worth. Here we are still.
FWIW.
Nothing has changed.
IANAL. Hustle.
We have a wine follow-up.
Yeah.
If you remember, I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Breaking news.
Yep. We described a scenario in which a genie, a hypothetical scenario, let me be clear, in which a genie if a genie were to present you with a bottle of wine that every year doubled in quality and you were immortal, how long would you wait to uncork and drink the wine? And then we posited the existence of an equally immortal, or possibly not immortal, but possibly normal sommelier. By normal, I mean mortal, whose job it was, I guess, every year to like list all of the notes, the sort of aroma and flavor notes contained in this wine, which a reader postulated may also double in quantity and number every year.
I might have postulated that.
Oh, you might have postulated that? I think you might be right.
Okay, so I understand what you were feeling the first half of this episode, because I just sat here while you were describing that as like, this is a thing we talked about before, and my mind was just screaming to escape my skull. It was just screaming, why is that what we were talking about? Why are we talking about it now?
Well, I'll tell you why we're talking about it now.
What is this?
We're talking about it now because, oh my God, I don't have the name of the person who wrote us an email, but we got an email about this wine.
Oh, we're talking about it because we got an email about it.
Yeah, let me just look this up. And you know what? I'm not even going to pause the podcast. I'm just going to let you sit here while I look up the name of the person.
That's fine. You're going to read an
who
email
wrote
from
the email.
someone about a wine genie.
Yep. Good God. How do we ever make this podcast? That's what I want to know.
I don't know.
I can definitely feel the itch.
If anyone ever wonders what Nick Brecken does, it's he stops this from
Prevent
happening.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
That computer monitor, although it is square, is in fact the keystone holding this podcast together.
Yes. All right, this is from Chris Rice, and he writes, "Hello, Important If crew. While listening to last week's podcast, I began wondering at which point the list of tones on the wine would be too long for anyone to read in a single year. So I looked up the world record for fastest rap, and Twista comes in first at 280 words per minute. If Twista rapped continuously for a year, he could say 147,168,000 words. We probably want to give Twista a break every once in a while, so let's cut that number in half,
Sure, why not?
which comes out to 73,584,000 words. Now we have to find out how many years it will take for the list to grow that long, assuming the number of words doubles each year. We can take the log base 2 of that number, which gives us 26.13 years. Because the wine quality in list doubles every year and not in fractions of a year, we must round down to 26 years,
True.
which means the list would be 67,108,864 words. At 12 hours a day, that would take Twista approximately 333 days to wrap the list, giving him plenty of vacation time. TLDR, if you ever find yourself in a situation with magical wine and immortality, please only wait 26 years to drink it, or else you will doom Twista and his descendants to an endless rap." God, I like the idea that Twista's children would have to carry on his fast rap.
God, that is because after 1 year, the list eclipses the length of a year, and you're stuck in a loop forever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Because by the time you finished
When you hit your
reading that
27th year, it
you'd
takes
already
longer than a
be
year.
backed up
Yep.
with more. Yeah. I wonder if if Twista's children.
Maybe they'll evolve to be faster wine note rappers.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I wonder if
I have to break my family's curse by becoming the
Please drink this
fastest
fucking
rapper
wine.
alive.
he already is.
Yeah.
He is, in fact. But he's got to get faster.
Gotta beat dad.
Gotta. Yep. Do you think he would be able to? Let's assume his children, even if they improve on his fast rapping skills, let's assume that we still might reach years in which there's more notes than can be rapped in a single year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he could if Twista raps for the 365 days straight, do you think he could then
Really only needs 330
tag
something,
team
but sure.
one of his kids in to continue that years while he immediately on January 1st starts off with the following years?
Oh, then you got to have a lot of kids real fast because those are going to stack up
well,
too.
but eventually the first kid will finish and then can pick up.
Yeah,
from the-
but that starts scaling out.
I mean,
until
that
it
starts
requires
scaling up
multiple
too,
human
yeah.
lifetimes just to hand off a list.
maybe by the time your house is full of Twista and his family tree all rapping wine notes at you, you'll be like, I should probably drink this wine.
I wonder if that wine, if the notes would if they would be constructed is such that this was a genie who foretold all of this, who foresaw it. If the notes of the wine would be constructed in such a way that they sort of had like a harmonic resonance or worth like a round when all the people are saying
Oh my God,
them.
that would be an incredible moment.
Yeah.
If Twista had been rapping for an entire year, and then on January 1st, when one of his descendants started rapping, and you realized it was creating an incredible
there was like a sort of like
harmonic
syllabic back and forth or
resonance
something,
and
yeah.
like metrical bouquet. God, then
Maybe the ultimate curse is that the harmonics break the bottle of wine because you waited too goddamn long to drink the wine.
Except then you're left with like the most incredible rap album. Like you've swapped the most incredible bottle of wine ever conceived for the most incredible mixtape of all time.
consisting literally of adjectives one would use to describe wine.
They're not necessarily adjectives. They could be nouns. They
Oh,
could
that's
have.
true. They could be
you
nouns.
there could be a lot of like linguistic beauty and complexity in these lists.
But if only we could have ever tasted the wine. Sadly, it broke.
Yeah.
Sadly, this album destroyed it
Yeah.
by being too harmonically complicated.
Yeah, and then you could get BuzzFeed to like do an oral history of the creation of this album.
But
Oh no!
how long is that oral history?
Well, I think you'll find every year the story is edited and becomes considerably longer. So now we have to find who has constructed the longest oral history on BuzzFeed.com and then employ them and their descendants to chronicle the creation of this
Of
album.
this giant multifamily, what turns into a rap battle to describe this bottle of wine that cursed
been
everyone,
destroyed.
that has cursed mankind,
Yeah.
it turns out.
Yeah.
Because eventually the BuzzFeed article will get
Although,
published.
that said,
But that BuzzFeed article is going to have to, it's going to spawn a bunch of takes.
it's it's definitely gonna. This is like if you give a mouse a cookie, but
If a
terrible at
if a
all.
wacky genie gives you an infinite bottle of wine that comes with a sommelier who is
Yeah.
a rap, the fastest rapper alive, and his infinite family tree, and a
Yeah.
BuzzFeed article.
if if BuzzFeed publishes an oral history, the internet is going to want some takes. And so it goes. Although I realize we missed a step here. If the wine is shattered by the harmonic resonance of Twista and his family tree, eventually you actually will. That means the list of notes
It will eventually stop.
is finite and will eventually stop. And
Well,
then
okay,
eventually
hold
you can
on
have
now.
sort of. Uh-oh.
The wine is shattered, but it's not consumed.
What do you mean?
Just because the wine bottle breaks doesn't mean you drank it. I'm pretty sure the rule stipulates that it's only when you drink it.
Jesus. So what does that mean? Does the wine
It's
keep
gonna just
getting
keep
better
getting
while
better,
like
but, like, it's gonna
soaked
get-
into your
but
carpet?
that's when, like,
and stuff
It's,
that like
it would be like
molecules
looking
of-
at the rings of a tree and seeing when like a crazy weather pattern change,
Yeah.
where suddenly the notes used to describe the wine are going to take a aggressive left turn because it's still getting better.
Yeah.
But it's getting better by sitting on the floor of your living room exposed to the air. The rule of the wine is that it still gets twice as good every year, Chris.
Right, I get-
But like the specific way in which it does that is now going to be like, actually, sorry, it has.
So then
notes
what
of-
does it count as having drunk the wine? If you like get down on your hands and knees and smash your face into your carpet and sort of like vacuum up some of the wine with your mouth, does
Yeah,
that count as
that's
having
and that's
drunk
also
it?
some of the descriptive notes of the wine.
I see. Like
Get down on your hands and knees, smash your face into the carpet. Like I don't know. I think that
I'll do that.
and
is notes of sucking the air. Okay, so at that point, once you've sucked a little bit of the wine out of your carpet,
that's it. The curses, the
that's
spell's
it. The
lifted.
curse is lifted. Wow,
Yeah.
that sucks. Fucking too bad you didn't
But you'd be like,
try it 5 minutes earlier.
oh no, it could have been on the carpet for like
I
20
guess
years.
it is still
Chris.
the most incredible wine of all time.
that could have just been sitting there, sort of slowly steeping into your rug. But then
Yeah.
you go, just sort of drink a little bit out of the floor of your house. The people,
I don't know that there'd be any moisture left.
it's
after
magical
20
wine, Chris.
Yeah.
But you'd be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I should have left that on the floor longer.
Except it'll also be really tragic because you'll be able to consume such little of it.
That's just what happens,
It's
man.
just the inevitable conclusion to this story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what gives the infinitely long
Be
BuzzFeed
careful
article
what
its
you wish
poignant
for,
end. Yes.
says the genie.
Yep. Says BuzzFeed's own whoever.
Yeah.
Nick Brecken.
That's when the camera like slowly pans over to the open computer screen or the open iPad or whatever with this article and slowly zooms in on the byline photo for the article and it's
A
just
genie.
just like Sinbad. The genie. And then he winks.
It's not a looping GIF. You got to catch it.
No, it just goes once. It's not really a looping GIF. It comes to life magically as a living photograph for a brief instant. Did you see that? Did that out of the corner of my eye? What was?
You're
what?
describing like an old YouTube ghost video now.
Oh, I thought I was describing like
Did you
a
see that?
like a '90s children's
Oh,
like Disney film.
yeah.
That is the subject of all the rest of it, except for the part where a weird rap dynasty like sings sort of cosmologically heightened notes in a man's house, and then he scrapes wine out of a carpet with his tongue. Maybe that part's not for children.
Oh my god.
But that part where a genie winks out of a computer screen.
Winks out of the byline of a computer article.
Out of a BuzzFeed article.
That part. Classic. Not only 90s kids will appreciate that touch.
That's actually probably true. If not them, then who?
Then
There's
who?
no one
If
else.
it's not them, who? I ask. Maybe we can get Terrible to finance this after we make our. I don't even remember what the fucking name of our stupid fake show was. All right, cool. Do we have anything else? Is this all we're doing? Can we wrap this shit up? Do you have any endorsements? Do you have anything to endorse?
Oh, sorry. I thought you asked if I could laugh. Do I have any endorsements?
I don't know. Do you? No.
Sorry, did you guys hear that?
Well,
Sorry. Everything's fine.
Don't you dare look at Tootle. We're not talking about Tootle this week.
no, we're not talking about Tootle. I gotta wait for Nick to talk about Tootle. I'm going to endorse. I have an endorsement. I might as well endorse something.
You would endorse a video game?
Kind of. I mean, I suppose, yeah. I'm going to endorse a game called Drawful. DRAWFUL. It's really a party game that just happens to use screens. Drawful is a very clever take on the genre, the whole sort of genre of game. What was the one that was really big on phones several years back? Draw Something?
Draw Something?
Yeah. It's in the vein of games like that. Essentially,
It would draw some things like Pictionary.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this game I would say is in the lineage of a Pictionary, right?
Okay.
Wouldn't you agree? Have you played it?
I have, but I can't remember the rules of Drawful. 'Cause
Okay.
I've played. It's made by Jackbox Games, who also makes Fibbage and You Don't Know Jack and a bunch of these party games, and they've all sort of blended together in my brain. So I don't
see.
remember the
Okay.
specific rules of Drawful.
One of the things that's so clever about the game is that it really works against overly rewarding great art, which it just doesn't really allow
That's
to be
true
created.
of Pictionary as well, where
Yeah.
if people who are really good at drawing sometimes are terrible at Pictionary because they will spend too long setting it up, and you need to
Sure.
get yourself into the just quickly render the thing
Yeah.
as clearly as you possibly can, as fast as you can.
The way this game works is that the person who owns the game runs it on a shared screen. I mean, you could run it on your laptop or whatever. We plugged our laptop into the TV so that we could all see it on a big
Right.
screen. And then everyone else just dials into the game by going to a website on your phone. And you go to the website, you put in a code that is shown on the big screen, and then you draw the picture on your own little phone screen, and everything happens. And the game just walks you through it step by step, so you don't need to know any rules ahead of time. And it is all of the tiny little decisions they made. The way it works essentially is each person is given a phrase that they have to then privately illustrate. And then the kind of turns of the game is it goes person by person. So like, let's say Jake was told to draw first day at school or something. Jake would privately draw that while everyone else is privately drawing their drawings. And then up on screen, you would see Jake's drawing, and it says on your phone, type in what you think this is. And you literally type in anything.
Just analyzes that photo that you uploaded and says, I can see the way they're looking at each other there and everything.
And then once everyone has typed in what they think it is, all of everyone's guess, plus if no one guessed the real one is put into the list, and everyone votes on which they think it is. And it is so smoothly made and fun and totally low stakes. It's a very, very, very clever design for a very simple idea.
It's very good. Have you played any of the other stuff that Jackbox has made of that style?
Not really.
Because they made one called Fibbage, which is about.
I think I played that with you.
You have to write
years
sort of
ago.
like basically, there's a fact or a question that comes up, and you have to, I think, come up with or write answers for it that are fake, and then it puts them up on the screen, which is very similar. But the one that they did that was an evolution of Drawful, sort of, is called TKO, and it's TEEKO. And the way that it works, the premise of it is everyone in the game, all the players sitting around the TV are collaboratively designing T-shirts. So the game starts with the interface very similar to Drawful, but it just says draw 7 things. Just submit 7 drawings, whatever they can be of anything, and you just draw on your phone a bunch of stuff, send them up, and then it says, okay. Then I think what it does is it sends you back 3 drawings from other people and says, just describe what this is. And then it turns them into T-shirts, and then they end up. God, the way that this whole the way that it works is
weird.
ridiculous. Where it ends up being like a drawing plus a little cheesy slogan, and then it starts putting them on shirts, and then you vote on which ones are the funniest because they end up. It's similar to the way that Drawful works in that just first people are operating in a very specific context with specific intent, and then it scrambles it up and it just causes these ridiculous results. The novelty thing at the end of every round of TKOs, whichever T-shirt ends up winning, you can press a button and they'll print on demand and mail you the T-shirt to your house.
Wow.
Which I'm sure a lot of those T-shirts have been ordered and then immediately thrown in the garbage because that is not funny.
Because the joke was hilarious on the night,
and
then
3 weeks later your T-shirt shows up. But
yeah, that's good though.
It's way less clean than Drawful. But if you play a lot of Drawful and then want to mix it up, TKO is a pretty fun sort of like scrambled version of that.
All right, we'll link to both of those.
Cool.
I'll let you get away with that as your endorsement.
I endorse just a derivative version of the game you were endorsing.
That's fine. All right, thank you for joining us for this very tortured episode of Important If True. We will, God, I hope, be back with Nick Brecken next week for a more normal episode of this show, whatever that even means. Thank you for listening nonetheless. If you stuck with this episode this long, that means I really appreciate you, like on a personal level. So thank you very much.
Wow.
If you have anything to...
Ending it weird.
Well, hey, it started it weird. Continued it weird, ended it weird. If you have any questions for us, if you have a problem that needs solving, a conundrum to be solved, you need advice of any sort, go ahead and send it to questions@importantiftrue.com and we will do our best. Our website is importantiftrue.com, and every week there you can see all the things we discussed with links when applicable, and all kinds of other information, such as where to subscribe to the show and links to the forums for each forum post for each episode. All that kind of stuff is at importantiftrue.com. All right, if you want an ad-free version of this show, you can find it at patreon.com/idlethumbs. And I think that is about it.
That's all that anyone ever wanted to hear.
Keep going. What were you talking about? Furbies? I don't know.
For Idle Thumbs, I am Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Brecken.
I'm Nick Brecken.
Stay spicy if you can.
Stay spicy if you can, please.
Alexa, can you stay spicy?
Stay spicy. Ha ha ha.
I am Nick Brecken.